Welcome to the OVERit Podcast. My name's Joby Bowie, and on this podcast, we're going to be talking all about mental health, anxiety, trauma, depression, pain, negativity, and how you overcome any of these situations. Okay, so I'm very excited about today's guest, Anita Tomecki. She is from the UK. I've known her about 20 odd years. We used to live together in Greece, working in Faliraki, working in the bars and living on a beach when we were really young. She's a fantastic woman. She's an NLP master. She's a human and behaviour expert. She's a mindset coach, life coach. This girl is absolutely phenomenal. She's got a story to tell as well, so I'm pretty sure that you're going to be excited. You're going to get a lot of value from this. So let's have a listen to what she's got to say.
It's really interesting that you just said that. So hello everyone, by the way, and thank you. I'm really honoured to be your first guest. Thank you so much for inviting me on. Yeah, it's really interesting just as you spoke back to us in Faliraki, and what just came up for me then was I came back from Faliraki after I did my third season covered in psoriasis, like head to toe. I was covered in psoriasis, and that was, I had a lot of anxiety actually in that last year of being in Faliraki. And I had anxiety, I had psoriasis for probably it was head to toe, and I managed to heal a lot of it in the first few months once I got back. But yeah, for about probably 15 years, I still had traces of it. It wasn't until I came here 5 years ago that I really healed, the skin of the psoriasis, which is really interesting.
It caused a lot of anxiety for you. I remember when I got home from living abroad and being in the sunshine so much, I got really depressed. I really didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go to work. I had such a high, and all of a sudden it really brought me down, and I come back down with a big bump when I got home. And the depression I had was, I didn't really want to work. The doctor said it was called sad disease. I was missing the sun. So it was definitely a time that I look back and go, yeah, something was maybe triggered with depression and a bit of anxiety back then as well. And but I also look back at it as a time where it's one of the best times of my life as well. And it just shows you when you have experiences in your life that you can anchor in on that energy as well, which is, so even now I still go back to some of them really good times. If I do get down, I do get depressed, I go back and think about them good times, and it makes me feel happy, makes me feel with joy, and all the friends around us and the support we had. It's a big family, wasn't it? So
yeah, really was, yeah. And you're right, it's and all of the work that I do now, in the coaching world is really learning how to we don't experience the highs without the lows come with the highs, and as you said, that experience of living by the beach, just having fun every day for 3 months of the year, however long we stayed out there, and then coming home, I remember just feeling absolutely exhausted. But again, it was the best times. But the body, even though I was young then, so young, I'm not anymore, early 20 years old, it was a big impact on the body. There was a lot of alcohol, there was lack of sleep, there was a real abuse of, I smoked in those days. I remember I was smoking, 60 cigarettes a day or something.
wow.
I remember I didn't have a voice, and that triggered.
Me.
Yeah, that really did trigger the system to get into that anxious state, which then caused the psoriasis. So yeah.
How long did you suffer with that for? Did you say 15 years?
So yeah, that was the first signs of it was from 20 when it triggered then, and probably about 15 years it was. Yeah, it was it was noticeable. It was something I was very conscious of on the body. People would look at, I'd have it quite badly on my knees.
So
and then when I got
it's like a skin infection, is it?
So it's I guess the most common thing to liken it is potentially like something like eczema, maybe.
Right.
So it's
I don't know what it is. It might be a bit of a clearer picture. So how did you get over that?
So initially when I came back, I went to see a skin specialist. So it was ointments and putting oils on and the rest of it. And at that time, I wasn't aware of the emotional body, that side of things. So once I came over to Australia 15 years later, the kind of the last bit of it was really realizing that for me, it was changing. Coming over here for me, I was a lot more relaxed. So it seemingly would look like the environment. Yeah, I came and I traveled and I wasn't working. I was living by the beach and I was calmer. My system had calmed down. So in turn, from a calmer system, the skin healed itself. I was in the sunshine. And I was living a much slower pace of life. So seemingly, it's the sun and the beach and all the rest of it, but it's the impact of all of that helped to calm the immune system.
It shows you what stress does to the body. When you put yourself in a certain environment and your mindset's in a negative place, it really does affect your outer world. So if we can help people understand what's going on their inside, and if we can get them in a better environment, maybe we can help them get over certain situations, whatever they might be going through. So yeah, it's definitely worth. Let's delve into that subject a little bit more about the mindset, the body. I know you're super knowledgeable on this, which is why I brought you on, and so I'd love to get an insight of what can people do to really overcome the anxiety, the trauma. What do they need to do on a daily basis? Like, let's delve into that if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a really important thing to say is part of the story, my story was coming over here. Then I was relaxed, I was having a good time. The skin, started to fully heal itself. But then what happened actually, in fact, was, a year or two into being here, the reality then was, this became my reality. Whereas at first it was more of kind of like a honeymoon period and it was enjoying it. And then the kind of day-to-day reality of life set in again. And for me, it was about changing my whole career. I didn't want to do the corporate job that I'd done back home. I really wanted to become a coach and start doing all of this work. So there was a period of real, uncertainty. Was I going to make enough money from this? So actually some anxiety started to bubble up again. So seemingly, I was now living on this beach and having this great, dream life, but still the anxiety was still there because it hadn't actually really been dealt with at the real core. It settled for a little while, and then again some struggles came up. So then for me, what happened was that I really started to work with a coach and go on courses and really start to get to the core of what the anxiety was all on behalf of in the first place.
Yeah.
Which I would recommend to anyone to, if they really want to cure themselves of this stuff and heal themselves, it's important to know where it's come from. It's important to be able to work with a professional to be able to unpick what's gone on, because it seems like it might have been something that happened 10 years ago or however long that was, but these things will go back to childhood most of the time. It will be something in our childhood. We wouldn't have known that there was, to call it anxiety back then, but probably that would have started back then. Butterflies in the stomach. We would have learned how to do anxiety at a much younger age.
Yeah, it's quite funny when you're talking about younger age. First thing that comes up for me there is that all we hear when we're children is no. We probably get told no a million times before we're 5 years of age. So programming starts really young, and all of a sudden it can just form into these negative states of mind and thinking of situations in a bad light when they might not be that way, and all of a sudden that can trigger stuff going forward into your adult life as well. I know many people who I've been speaking to and dealing with that it all goes, as you say, it suddenly finds something that triggers back into their childhood.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a big one. And just as you say, today I was out and about in Bondi, and this child, probably about 4 years old, came running up to me and my friend and went to punch my friend. And, you know, his dad came running over and was like, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, my friend said, you know, why did you want to punch me? And after a bit of talking to this 4-year-old, it turned out that he had been watching Rambo and that he wanted to be a superhero like Rambo. So he wasn't, for him at 4 years old, he doesn't know that punching's bad. But as you say, you know, straight away that that's a bad thing to do. And you know, just as what you said, it's like that will lock in at that age, and there will be an anchor, you know, at a very young age that locks in that's not allowed, that's bad, or you've been bad. And for a child at that age to be told that, there's potential real trauma for that child. And then the conditioning starts, and we hear it and we hear it and we hear it. So it's a really tough one. I actually really feel for parents.
All of my friends got kids. I'm probably the only one in my group who hasn't got children. So all of my friends, every time I go around, my brother's got 6 kids. But every time I go around there, it's just fighting and screaming, and it's like the environment is just crazy. And for me, it's a little bit too much for me, because I'm a bit of an empath as well. So I take things in, but the kids are just, I mean, and they're just so programmed with computer games now as well. And it's just so different to how we was, you know, even when we were young, we was out playing and doing stuff. And now kids are just stuck indoors all the time. They're not getting out in the environment. It's very hard for them. So yeah, they are getting programmed down when they're very young, and it can really affect kids going forward. And even young adults now under 25, you know, there's a lot of people that I'm seeing under 25 suffering with anxiety, depression, and mental health now as well, because stress of life and things are going around. So maybe let's touch on that a little bit of how we can help even just young people. Because I know I've had a lot of young people under 25 message me. I can't wait for the podcast to start because I'm really interested in this. And I've also had a lot of older people from 45 down to up to 60 plus, all talking about, I can't wait to hear about this because I know I've got so many things going on. And maybe is it something I've done from when I was young? Is it something that's happened now? How do I get to the trigger point of what's caused my anxiety, what's caused my, whatever it may be, depression and stuff like that? So maybe we can talk about trigger points a little bit, and just how we can sort of move on from, okay, let's find that trigger point, but how do we resolve it? What do we say to ourselves? What do we have to do with ourselves and our bodies and our minds to overcome that little bit of anxiety, depression, mental health, whatever it may be that someone might be going through who might be listening to this?
Yeah. So what I'll start with is so in the work that I do with people and what worked for me. So this is also to remember that, you know, I always say to people that whatever work resonates for you, then go with that. This isn't to say that this is 100% going to work for you, because some people actually don't agree with. Yeah. So this is something that has worked for me, and it works for my clients, and it has worked for many people. And so if we take anxiety, for example, what really did help for me was even changing the language around it. So I used to say I'm an anxious person, I have anxiety, and then I just changed that to learning through all of the work that I've done, how the mind runs, how the programming starts. It's a strategy. So it's something that anxiety was something that I did. It's something I do rather than it's something I have or I am. I'm not anxiety. It's something I do. So part of the work that I did, and my coaches recommended for me was to actually work out the strategy. So how do I actually do anxiety? And it was really breaking it down. And this is what I work with clients on. So for me, there was a sense of the first thing in the morning was when anxiety would start for me. So on waking, it would be, for me, it was my stomach, butterflies, knots in the stomach, the mind racing. So the practice for me was to start to explore exactly, so to really break that down, how that starts. So what I found for myself was And this took a while. It wasn't like necessarily, this takes time because it runs on autopilot. The anxiety had been running for years on autopilot. So it's not to say this is going to make sense to you straight away. But once you can start to be more aware of your waking moments. So for me, I would wake up in the morning and I would really notice the first moment would be very calm. It would just be blissful. I'd wake up, that first moment of complete just calmness, waking state. And within seconds, for me, what came first was a thought. So my mind would turn on. So the minute there was a sense of this bliss, this calmness, it was like the pattern then was to start thinking. So what have I got to do today? What haven't I, just thought after thought after thought. And then what would happen is the thought would come and then the body would then respond to that. So the thought then triggers the sensation in the body. And then the thoughts are around what's happening in the body now and why is this happening, and I've got anxiety again, blah blah blah. So then it just turns into this cycle of thought, feeling, just running. So what anxiety it's basically when we're thinking of worst case scenarios in the future. So if we can be totally present, and we'll get onto this a little bit more because it's obviously everything that we know not to do. So when we can be totally present, we won't experience anxiety. Anxiety does not exist in the present moment. Anxiety only exists in mind. We only ever experience that in our thinking mind. Yeah. So the more present we can be, the less we will experience anxiety.
It's all about the present. I've just been reading the book, The Power of Now. Fantastic book, and just literally all about forgetting what's happened in the past. Focus on now, and we will be able to overcome whatever it is that we're going through. Because if you're focusing in now, your energy you're not focusing on the pain and negativity and stuff like that. So fantastic book. Highly, highly recommend The Power of Now to everyone. It's a really good book. It's all about the present. And that there for me so for people who don't know, I had a car crash about 9 weeks ago. And I had damage on my shoulder, my neck. I had a lot of anxiety, depression, a little bit from it as well. But I've also had a few other traumas in my life. I got hit by a scaffold fitting from 70 foot. Should have died. I shouldn't be here. So I've been through a few situations, but this recent one, this being in the present right now, reading that book literally got me through it. It's one of the most powerful things I've learned in my time of doing personal development and stuff like that, just being here in the now. And even now, still, sometimes your thoughts drift off and they go, but if you can bring yourself back into that moment as quick as you can.
And how do you do that, Jovi?
For me, personally, my way I do it is just, I do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule. So if I feel myself going back, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, back in the moment. So I'm here now. So that's my little technique. Because 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is it's an action, isn't it? Obviously, it's you class it as like the rocket ship going off, and it's go time. So for me, it's bringing myself back. I'll take that 5 seconds, breathe, back in the moment.
Yeah, so breathe. That's the key to it all. That's so it's how does one do that? That's what people ask me. Well, how do I do that? Yeah. So if that's happening for you, once you're noticing yourself going there with the with the stories, with the past experiences, then that as soon as that's caught, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, breathe. Because once we're doing that, even that countdown and that, the focus is now no longer able to be in the mind, which is recalling those stories and bringing yourself to breath.
What I was doing as well over the last 9 weeks, I was writing everything down. So every time I was having an anxiety attack, a panic attack, I was having negative thoughts, whatever it was that was going on in my head, I would just get a pen, paper, write it down, see how I felt about it. So I was getting it out of me as well. So it's a way of pushing it forward from my point of view of, okay, I don't want to be feeling this. So when it comes up again, I can notice it. So I kept writing it down. And every time it kept coming in, I was noticing it quicker. I let this next before, and I was catching it within seconds, not a minute, which is a long time in thought. But I was catching it in a few seconds, and all of a sudden I started developing this awareness of what was going on. And that really helped me. And then the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the breath, back in the moment. How did that make me feel? What was I going through? What did my body feel like? I felt anxious. I felt itchy. I felt my brain I didn't feel comfortable, whatever it was. And then I had a couple of situations. I went to Ricky, our good friend, Ricky. I went over to his wife's birthday party, literally just a few weeks after my accident. I probably shouldn't have gone out, but because it was her birthday, I was like, yeah, I'll come out. Be good to go and see everyone. But within 5-10 minutes of being there was a lot of people coming into the room. There was a lot of conversations, and all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to have a panic attack. I could feel it. So I had to take myself out of that environment, and then from there, realise what I was going through, and I'm going to go home. Better if I just take myself out of this environment, and then I just move on. And that for me was something that I just worked on myself on a daily basis, being aware of being aware. And that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the breath just really just helped me. You can even do 3, 2, 1 if you want, whatever works for you. But I just found that was something that really helped me develop my awareness, my persona of being in present, and it's really helped. And even again, talking to you as well, we've spoken a few times over the past, and that helps, talking to people and, just really developing that support around yourself, within yourself, and people around you helps as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you are with friends or you're with other people as well, again, it's the focus is now not on being in mind. The focus is being present with people, being there, being there. The only thing that separates us from the present is the thing of mind. And so the more that we can be here, whether it's with people or through breath or, whatever works for the person is taking us out of
I've been sitting at home. I was sitting at home for 9 weeks practically on my own. No one in the house, just me, myself, and thought. Not a good combination when you've just had a big car accident and another trauma in my life. Over my past, I think I probably should have died about 6 times. I think I've spoken to you about this. So I've had a lot of stuff going on. And then all I kept thinking about was, not again. Why am I going through this again? But every time I've had something traumatic happen to me, I can put back to that point and say, it's propelled me forward into something very positive. So now I've got 2 new job roles come in, a new car coming in, I've got more money coming in now. 2 months of not working, not having any income coming in after an accident, it was a bit like, what do I do? But it just was something I'm not used to. Obviously, I'm used to working quite hard and doing well, but this just was, for me, it was just an unknown environment. And now everything's really changing. I can look back at that day and go, I'm actually quite grateful, because it's now become a very positive. So no matter what you're going through, guys, when you're listening to this, stay strong, stay positive, because it will get better. And
really on that, Joby, and what you say, and obviously my whole experience of knowing you and everything that you have been through is we talked about earlier, as I mentioned, when we were in those anxious times, we were in mind and we're playing out worst case scenario thinking. So that's a thinking pattern. So in my type of coaching that I do is I work with people on identifying and reflecting back to what their key habitual thinking patterns are. One that is a strong driver for people with anxiety is worst case scenario thinking. So with you, although you you have experiences of doing anxiety as well, there is quite a strong part of you that does the best case scenario thinking as well, which is what allows you to then have that positive. So I'm gonna, even though something negative's happened, I'm going to be positive about it. So for you, for some reason, for however many years, probably back, you've learned to do that from quite a young age, whereas some people will be stronger in the worst case and may not have had, you know, the same experiences, or it had you have been driven by that worst case scenario thinking all the way without the best case, you wouldn't be where you are today. So it just really shows that, and as you said, you know, to take that what has happened to you and then allow that best case scenario optimism. It's all meaning. It's the meaning you've made of it. You know, you've made the meaning of it that it's a positive thing. So rather than seeing it as a bad thing, turning it into a good thing and then having a great experience. Yeah.
After my accident 12 years ago where I got hit by the scaffold fitting, that's when I really found personal development, mindset work, reading, listening, watching, whatever it may be. I just had to get out of that. Back to that time, let's go back to that. I had 18 months off work. I had big 49 metal staples in my head. So it was a tough time, deep, dark, lost money, lost everything, lost a girlfriend, you know, just, it was everything that could happen. It was just a downward spiral. And I was just like, I've got to get out of this situation. How can I do it? What do I need to do? And that's when I just started looking at mindset work and personal development. And since then, I've just been studying it near enough every day. There's probably not a day where I don't read something or watch something, and getting myself into that environment of positivity. The first thing I normally do is waking up, I put a positive audio on, positive audio on, listen to something positive, be thankful, be grateful. Like every day for me is an absolute blessing. Like I shouldn't be here sitting here talking to you right now. So every day is a blessing. So over the years, what I've learned is just taking 5-10 minutes a day or whatever it is to be grateful, to be thankful, and really listening to something positive to lift your vibrational energy, to lift your mood, and put some good music on or whatever it may be. All these little things, this is the ripple effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's to see the experiences we've had rather than labeling any of them bad or good or whatever, wrong or right, that shouldn't have happened. It's to go, well, it's got me here to right now. So it's kind of, you know, it turns into it's the evolution of me rather than the bad or the good. It's brought me to here, to now.
Yeah, really looking at this time of growth, personal development. I feel stronger now in my mind and my spirituality, my consciousness than ever before. So my bad day has now become a good day again, and I'm very excited about it. So if I can do this, you've got through a lot of stuff. I'm sure the people who are watching this and listening to this can get through stuff as well, you know. And we'll be here to help and support. And Anita will give you some a little offer at the end, how you can work with her and talk, and we'll be here to support anyone that needs it as well. This is what OVERit, what I want to do with this channel OVERit as well. I want to create a community of people who want to do better, want to change their lives, want to go out and create, and hopefully we can really build something all together, and a good community of just positive people who want to go out and really make a difference to the world as well. And I think we're going to be on a good path with this as well. So let's delve into a little bit more about what you do with your job, what you do with your clients a little bit. How can we help people?
Yeah. So what I work with people on is whatever they come to me with. So, you know, people will come to me, either they've got anxiety, they've got relationship issues, they've got family issues, they want to change their job, you know, whatever it is. I work with them not on the story of the job or the relationship or the partner or the family. I use the story the story is relevant until it's not anymore. So what happens with working one-on-one with clients is they come with whatever it is, and we set out the goals of what they would like to get to achieve from coaching. And a lot of the time what we end up with is actually, it wasn't ever about the goals. It's what I've learned about myself. So through the story, through whatever it is that they've come to me with, we work on how they're making meaning of language, how their body responds to things like anxiety, stress, whatever it is. We work with basically how the mind runs. We work with personality structures. We work with belief systems. So as people tell their story, I work with them and I stop them and I interrupt a lot, and I bring them to basically help them to bring out of unconscious awareness. So, we're running 95%, most people, in their unconscious mind, running on autopilot. So all of those patterns that are formed in our formative early years up until the age of 7, we're still running at the age of 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, however old we are, until we start to see them, if we choose to do that. So really, the work really is starting to bring the 95% out of here to here. So it will be, literally like I'll be coaching someone and their leg might start shaking, why is your leg moving at this moment? Oh, I always do that. I always shake my leg or move my foot around or do whatever. And then they'll stop, and then it will start again at a different point. So now your leg's moving. Oh, I always do that. And then what we usually get to is, I'm feeling quite anxious as I talk about this certain thing. So that's why my leg moves, and I never realised that that's what happens. So what it's doing is it's really helping people to start to see how we run our minds and we run our bodies. And even if it's okay that your leg's shaking, at least you know now that it doesn't just happen. It happens when there's something arising for them, whether it's anxiety.
The trigger point that we were talking about a minute ago.
Yes.
Something,
yeah,
one little trigger thing, and again, you're saying your leg could shake or whatever, and people are not even tying it to that certain language or whatever it is, that one word or whatever, all of a sudden it starts a trigger in the body. So it's definitely
exactly. Yeah, and so I work with them on their thinking patterns as well. So we talked earlier about the worst case, the best case scenario. So the worst case, best case is one thinking pattern out of 60. So as human beings, we have access to 60 different thinking patterns. Right. But only around 5 to 7 of them will absolutely drive our personality. So say someone's more on the best case thinking side, they don't have access to worst case, so they're always optimistic about everything. And actually, that's not a healthy way to be either. The healthiest expression of any of us is to have balance between the best and worst case. Because if we're just optimistic all the time, we haven't got access to anything else. We'll be getting ourselves into situations that we might. So for me, that was quite a big one for me. I was in a job for.
So go on. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just going to say,
yeah,
on them 7 points would be great, but I'd love to hear your story first as well. What you just about to talk about.
Yeah, so I was going to just going to say that best case thinking for me was quite a pattern. I grew up from a young age, and I was at boarding school from 7 years old. So for whatever reason, I decided that to be optimistic was going to protect me from missing my parents or whatever it was at that age. So for me, it was to just be positive, to see the best in everything. I was at boarding school. I was with all my friends. That was the story that I always ran. And even up until this day, if anything bad happens, it's like the automatic thing is to go, but what's the good in this? So I can see that I do this now, whereas previously it was just running on autopilot. So what that meant for me for quite a few years was I stayed in a job for probably a few years longer than I was happy in. But for me, the best case was run going, it pays well, I get to go on 7 holidays a year, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And rather than going, actually, I'm going to leave this job, there was so much fear around leaving it. And the best case would just keep me going with it. So that's one of the programs that we work with, that I work with in coaching with clients. Another one would be perfectionism. If someone's too driven by everything needing to be perfect, then it can be a problem. we can stop ourselves from getting stuff done. And a lot of the time, perfectionists don't even realise that they're perfectionists because nothing is actually ever perfect enough, which was another big one for me. When it was pointed out to me, I was like, well, no, my house was just absolutely perfect, but it could never be perfect enough. And I was like, well, I'm not a perfectionist because it's not perfect ever. Nothing was ever perfect. And then once I could see that, I mean, my house is still pretty tidy at the moment, but not like it used to be. I was, if anyone moved anything in my house just slightly, I would see that had been done. So, and that again was something born from childhood. So these are the patterns that I work with people that struggle to make decisions, people that contradict themselves in mind. They spend hours thinking of, should I do this? Should I not do that? What's the best thing to do? It's like they don't trust themselves. At some point in their life, they've lost trust in their decision making. That's called internal mismatching. So we're constantly mismatching our own thought process and never getting anything done. Procrastination, for example, would be an example of that. So that's just a taster of what I work with. So as people speak about whatever's going on for them, what they've come into coaching with, I'm listening for subtleties in their language that then I will bring to their awareness. So there's a perfectionist program running, there's a best case scenario program running, there's an internal mismatching program running, and that's what we work on then. Once we can see those programs, it's like what you talked about earlier, you're starting to have awareness now. So before it was just happening, now I can take a step back and I can actually see what's going on, and we can't change what we can't see. So now we can start to see it. There's the opportunity now to go into the practices to start to change. If we don't want to change, fair enough, but at least we can see it now. And then there's choice. Whereas before there wasn't choice, it was just running.
Yes. That's a very good point you just mentioned there, that one word, choice. If we keep our mindset in the past, keep running over the same old record, we're making that choice to stay there. And then we cannot get a different result. If we change that little bit of thinking, even just for a few minutes a day, just try and change it, build on it, you're going to get a different outcome. That's definitely something I've found in my personal journey, that when I'm going over something, I'm just getting the same result. I'm not moving on anywhere. I'm just going over and over and over, and it's just broken record going round and round and round. But this, when I change my full pattern of actually thinking about the solution, actually thinking about a positive outcome, thinking about gratitude, love, whatever it may be, into that moment, all of a sudden things start to change and things start to turn around for me. So I can definitely relate to what you're saying there on that point for sure. So there's
Joby, yeah. I was going to say that in itself, the word choice, because we're not actually necessarily brought up to know that there is choice. How many people say, well, this is just the way I am, I can't change. Or we'll look at someone and go, well, they've always been like that, they're never going to change. Because this is what we've grown up around. And actually now to learn about all this stuff and to go, there is actually choice. We're not born like this. And there's the whole nature nurture conundrum, what's what. We don't actually really know what the percentages are around that. Regardless of what they are, we can still change. We're not born with anxiety. We're not actually born with these thinking patterns. We're not born thinking. We're born as human beings, pure consciousness.
Yeah, we're born genius. Yeah. We go and do and create anything that we want. Look at little kids. They can learn 5 languages when they're young. We try to learn the language now, and it's our full patterns getting in the way of us. And it definitely just goes back to that mindset thing of whatever it is that we want to achieve. We can just got to be focused, be here now, in the present, and definitely for that. So let's touch a little bit about them. Let's really go into them 7 points you said that people go through. Let's break them down one by one, if that's all right. So what are the 7 points, and how can people use them to go forward?
So sorry, which 7 points?
You said there's 7 behaviours. You said there were 60 behaviour.
Oh, sorry, yes.
There's only 7
Sorry.
that we normally use.
So I'll explain it maybe a little bit more clearly now. So basically, there's 60 of the programs, and they're all available to us. So through our conditioning, through those first formative years about, our environment, all the rest of it, our peers, our parents, our friends, whatever it is in those younger years, we subconsciously or consciously at that age choose, out of the 60 patterns of thinking, there will be a choice of around 5 to 7 of these. Mm-hmm. So your 7 are going to be different from my 7. Okay. Someone else's 7 are going to be different. So basically what they do is they're a collection of thinking patterns that become habitual. Okay. So we learn to do them, and we do them and do them and do them over again and again and again, and then they start to run. So each one is going to have 7 different patterns that form basically our personality.
Yeah, you said it, I thought you meant that there was a 7, like a general 7 that everyone uses, but everyone has their own different 7. Interesting. Yes. Very interesting. So
yes. So there's 60 of them, and we say again.
Do you know what your 7 are?
I do know, yes. So for me, I can give you, a top line view of what mine, and I say, when I first started doing this work, they were a lot more pronounced, whereas now, obviously, there's a lot more balance in them. So once we start doing this work, that's what we choose to do, there's an opportunity there for integration, for balance. So each one, so 60 of them, and each one operates at 2 ends. So in theory, there's 120 of these. So out of the 120, so there's 2 ends of them. So if we say best case scenario and worst case scenario. So for me, mine was best case scenario thinking. I did internal mismatching. I did external mismatching. I did internal authority. I did perfection. I did options. So it's not going to make that much sense because it's just a top line view. But they were mine. They were my main drivers. So throughout this time, that has been the work that I have done on myself to basically practice the other end of them, to gain flexibility. So with all of these, what I do with my clients is if they are someone who, for example, runs internal mismatching, which is the one where we struggle to make decisions, we spend a lot of time in our heads. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I go to the gym? Should I not go to the gym? Should I order this on the menu? Should I order that on the menu? Whatever that is. Should I move countries? Should I change jobs? Should I be with my partner? Should I not? So we go small, big. So what I work with my clients on that one is, and what I worked on myself with, was starting off with seeing that this is something that we do. How many hours a day are we wasting or spending in our minds trying to make these decisions? And then the practice, once we can identify this, is to then go away and start. So whilst we're internally mismatching, the opportunity then is to start matching. So go with the first thought that comes to mind. So I'm going to order this thing on the menu and just order it.
Yeah.
Because if we look at this thing, how much of a life, how much impact is this going to have on our life by choosing one thing on the menu versus the impact that 20 minutes might make on our life whilst we can't decide, so it's things like that. So what I do with my clients is we start small. 5, 4,
3, 2, 1, make a decision. That's it, go
then.
Yeah.
And just know, and this is it, it's like that first decision that's made, that's kind of like it's kind of like the gut decision. It's the first thing that's come to you. Trust it. I say trust the gut. Trust it. Just trust the gut. Cut the butt, because then the butt comes in. But I might prefer to eat that, or So whilst clients come to me and they're saying, I want to make a decision on whether I should stay with my partner or move countries, and it's like, if you can't make a decision on what to order on a menu, you've got no chance of making a decision on what country you're going to live in. So it's like we start small. To go away this week and practice just trusting yourself to go to the gym, to not go to the gym, make a decision. And that's it. And it's like start small, and then the bigger decisions just do themselves in the end, because by starting small, we're changing neural pathways in our mind. We're now starting to be able to trust more, and rather than this neural pathway of not knowing and having no trust in self, contradicting self, that's what we do. So it's not that we don't know what to order on the menu, it's just the habit is to contradict self.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Brilliant thing what you just spoke about there, the neuro pathways. This is so important. Let's touch on this and why people should understand this. When you're actually learning something or making a new decision, let's go into how the neuro pathways, without going scientific obviously, but without what they're doing, and why they're so important. Because when we make a new decision, or when we do something from the unknown, or when we learn something new, we're forming new pathways in our brain. That means we're growing. That means our brain's evolving. And so I'd love for you to touch on this, because I can talk about this for absolutely hours as well. So I'd love to get your insight on that, and what people can do not just to understand it scientifically, because a lot of people won't understand that, but in basic terms, what it means for us growing and getting over whatever it may be, that decision or that anxiety, that trauma, whatever it may be, how that can help us.
Yeah. So if we look at it, really simplistically, so if we look at how many times we have the same thoughts. So if our thinking is to think in the worst case scenario, and we've been doing that for all of our lives since we were like 5 years old, whatever that is, it's like, comparing it to walking in the snow in the same path, hundreds of times. So those foot marks stay there, and they get deeper and deeper and deeper. So if you can picture that as happening in your mind. So I'm going to do worst case scenario thinking for 20 years, for 30 years, however many years. Think how entrenched then that footmark is going to be in the snow if you keep doing the same thing day after day, day after day, day after day. So that's as simplistically as it can be explained. So now we're changing that. We're going to start thinking best case scenario thinking, for example. So then that becomes the practice. So then again, it's like we've changed the path of the snow and it's going a different way. And just as you practice your way into worst case scenario thinking for that many years, you become an expert at thinking the worst all the time. Now there's a slow process, and it's not necessarily going to be as slow or as, let's say, as long as the 20, 30, 40 years. It's going to take a little while, but if you really keep at it, it's not going to take as long as you've been alive today. Yeah. So what you're doing is you're creating a new path. So slowly, there will be lighter steps on the snow at first, and they will just get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you've created, a different way of thinking.
Thinking positive.
So that's
thinking positive.
Yeah. So
get positive.
Yeah. So so what happens with that is you've done the worst case, and then you're now doing the extremities. You're doing the other side of that. So now you're doing the optimism, the best case scenario thinking. And then after a while, once you become really good at doing that, and you've already become really good at doing that, then there's balance. Then you're at the middle point again. So sometimes you might need being positive all the time. Again, sometimes you need a little bit of the other as well. So it just brings you back into balance so that you have access to both ends of the scale, and that's what it's all about. And then a step on from that, if we really want to let's go on to that next level, is presence, is being here. So whilst we're in either best case or worst case scenario thinking, we're actually still in mind, because we're still actually in here, and we're not actually here in presence. So the next level on from that, if people choose to go there, is just to be here, because even in best case scenario thinking, we can still be our bodies can still be creating excitement, which can sometimes look the same in the body as anxiety. Butterflies in the stomach. Someone's at the top of a roller coaster or whatever it is. They're excited, or they're nervous. They've got butterflies. It's just the labels that we're now putting on the sensations in the body. So there's choice there. Let's either practice that end, or when people are ready, be here and realize that anything that is going on ever in mind, even positive thinking, whatever, it's still construction. It's not actually being with what is really happening right now in presence, which is that bringing back to breath, being here with what is in this moment. what can I see, what can I hear at every moment.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So we spoke a little bit about labels there. I know a couple of people said that they've been labelled with like ADHD and stuff like that, but let's maybe talk about it like end of the day, it's just a label. It doesn't mean anything it's just someone giving you that label. How can people get over that? How can people get away from the labels, even though they might have been given it, but thinking differently, and what does it actually mean?
Yeah, and I'll give an example of something that, so my experience was when I was growing up, being told I was dyslexic, and there's people that I work with now that come to me with, I really struggle, I think I'm dyslexic, or ADHD or anxiety or whatever that is, and actually I want to explore something different. I'm on tablets, I don't want to be on the meds anymore, whatever that is. So and again, that's absolutely, if people are taking medication, I would never say not to take it. That's that you go to a doctor and do what you need to do. There's nothing, that I would ever recommend in terms of that side of things. But what I do alongside that is, if people want help around it, is again, it's really a practice of how much is it impacting you to have for some people, they actually get relief from hearing that there's a diagnosis for something, and if that helps them through that, then that's all well and good. But when people come to me, what we do is we work on so say for dyslexia, it's like, well, so how's your dyslexia impacting you day to day? Well, when I'm at work, there'll be someone standing over me and they'll want something really quickly, and I'm, trying to get it, but I know that my dyslexia is really holding me back because I can't spell this thing properly, or I'm just a bit slower at doing stuff. So then we go through, well, what's that process for you? And they might say, well, I'm in my mind and I'm really stressing myself out over this. And it's like, well, no wonder you're slowing yourself down if you're in your mind stressing about it. So it's like, again, it comes back to, can you take a breath in this moment? Can you be there in that moment? So really bring self out of mind into presence through breath. And something that I do with a lot of my clients is, so it's called GASP, so GASP.
Okay.
So it's something I think we might have done on the workshop.
Yes.
Joby. So it's pretty simple. GASP, GASP. So the way that we use this is the offer is in times of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, someone standing over you, panic, someone's having a go at you, whatever that is, excitement, when we want to bring ourselves back to presence, just like you talked about your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The offer here is when you notice yourself in those states and you might notice, say, a shortness of breath, a gasp. So use the G to ground yourself. So if that's feeling your feet on the ground, if it's a physical touching, just being with your, whatever that is, if you're on your keyboard, feeling the sensations of the keys as you're tapping. So all of this is bringing out of mind into body, into presence.
Yeah.
So you're no longer in your thinking mind. So G is to ground yourself wherever you are through your feet. A is awareness. So have awareness for, whether you're in the office, the air conditioning, you can hear the air conditioning, someone's talking to you, someone's shouting at you, whatever that is, you're coming into your awareness, into what's S is for senses and sensations. So what can I hear? What can I see? What can I smell? So again, it's bringing out of your thinking mind into the presence through your awareness, through everything that's available to you in your external environment or even your internal sensations in the body. So again, out of thinking mind into presence. And P is for posture. So the more that we can sit up straight, shoulders back, the more that we can, when we're hunched over like this, we're not. It's going to be harder to be in presence.
Yes,
to be able to yeah, you like that in the fetal position, whatever. So the more open you can be with your posture, your heart's open, whatever that is, the easier it will be to experience. But you're breathing better because your organs are, they've got space now to allow that breath to come down. So that's an offer, GASP, gasp. So again, if someone's having that moment of whether it's ADHD they're experiencing, dyslexia, they're having someone standing over, whatever that is, the offer here is, can you follow that process to bring yourself back to here? And then someone standing over you, they're just standing there then. It's not, I'm not talking to myself about what they're thinking about me or whatever that is, or I'm stupid, or I'm dyslexic. I'm able to get this done actually probably quicker now, because I'm now not talking to myself about it. I'm able to be with the job in hand.
Yeah, I love it. Ground awareness, sensation, posture.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, so we are roughly about an hour. So we said we'd only go for about an hour. So we could talk for absolutely hours about this. I love it. I love the information you've given. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving us your time. But how can people contact you? If people want to work with you, what do they have to do? Is there a certain offer if we can give them if they come through this webinar or wherever it may be? It's down over to you, really. Yeah, love it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. So if anyone would like to get in touch with me, I'm going to have my Instagram and my Facebook pages. You can contact me down below on those. And what I'm doing today is I'm offering anyone who would like to have a complimentary, about a 30-minute coaching conversation with me over the phone, over Zoom, Skype, whatever it is, in person if you're in Bondi. So there's an offer there. So please get in touch if you'd like to have a go.
What's today? The 22nd of September. How long will that offer run for?
So if people can get in touch in the next 48 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Was that enough time? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I should have this up today on the day of recording this 22nd. So I should be up this afternoon. So what do you want to say? Like Tuesday, Wednesday? Couple of days.
Go Wednesday.
Go Wednesday.
Yeah, go.
3 days from filming this. So Wednesday, that'll be the 25th. 25th of September. Perfect. So guys, you've got 3 days to get a complimentary session with Anita, and I promise you it is going to help you no matter what. I've been working with Anita for a while now, and she's fantastic. I promise you, you're going to get a lot of value. So, and then go and work with her as well. All right. So Anita, thank you, my darling. Lovely to see you as always and talk, and we'll go from there. Cheers, guys. This is the OVERit Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on.
So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that OVERit 001 with Anita Tomecki. She is an absolutely powerhouse of a woman, and just an absolute pleasure to know her, to call her my friend, and I'm sure she'll be able to help plenty of you as well. I hope you got some value from it. Thank you for listening. And for those of you on YouTube, do just apologise just a little bit because the video quality didn't come out how I liked. But for those of you listening to the audio, you should have a nice little show there that you can share for yourself and for others who might be going through something and need some help to get over anxiety, trauma, pain, depression, mental health, get some positivity in their life and know how you can go and do that. So guys, thank you for listening. We'll be back very soon for episode 002, and I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye-bye.